There is a dog asleep on the floor right now, somewhere in the world, running. Its legs are twitching. Its lips are pulling back. It is making a sound that is almost a bark, but not quite. And for a long time, the scientific consensus said that nothing was happening inside that dog's head worth calling a dream. It was just muscle noise, random electrical discharge. The obvious, comfortable assumption was that dreaming was a human thing, something that required language and consciousness, and a self complex enough to have an inner life worth visiting at night. That assumption was wrong, and the evidence that dismantled it did not come from philosophy or theory. It came from rats running mazes in their sleep. The story of animal dreaming starts with a structure in the brainstem called the pons. In the 1960s, a French neuroscientist named Michel Jouvet was studying cats in his laboratory in Lyon, watching what happened to them while they slept. During certain phases of sleep, their eyes moved rapidly beneath closed lids. Their brain activity spiked into patterns that looked nothing like rest, and almost exactly like waking. Jouvet had been expecting something like this. What he had not expected was what happened when he disabled the mechanism that kept them still. When the pons could no longer suppress their motor signals during that phase of sleep, the cats stood up. They arched their backs. They hissed at things that were not there. They stalked invisible prey across the floor of the laboratory. They were asleep the entire time. Jouvet had accidentally shown the world what a cat dreams about. That phase of sleep is called REM, rapid eye movement. It happens in virtually every mammal that has ever been studied, and the brain activity recorded during it is close enough to waking brain activity that researchers describe it as the sleeping brain running its waking simulation at nearly full power. Dogs show it, cats show it, rats, dolphins, elephants, horses, chimpanzees, platypuses. All of them cycle through REM sleep with the same characteristic signature. The eyes move, the brain fires, the pons holds the body still, and the more closely researchers looked at what was happening inside those brains during that window, the harder it became to argue that nothing was happening worth calling a dream. The clearest evidence came out of MIT in 2001. Neuroscientists Matthew Wilson and Kenway Louis had spent months training rats to run a circular track for food rewards, while monitoring the firing patterns of neurons in the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for spatial memory and experience encoding. Each rat's run through the maze produced a distinctive, measurable signature of neural activity, a specific sequence of neurons firing in a specific order at a specific tempo. Then the rats slept. Wilson and Louis compared the hippocampal recordings taken during REM sleep against the recordings taken on the track. In more than half of the REM episodes they examined, the firing sequences matched, not approximately. Precisely enough that the researchers could identify which section of the maze the rat was dreaming about, whether it was running or paused, whether it was near the reward or still approaching it. They knew what the animal was dreaming about. That had never been done before. Birds complicated the picture further. For a long time, the assumption was that REM sleep was a mammalian innovation, something that arrived relatively late in the evolutionary timeline. Then researchers began recording from zebra finches and found something nobody had predicted. During REM sleep, the neurons in the finch's song control regions fired in the same sequences they fired during actual singing. The bird's throat muscles moved. The syrinx, the vocal organ, produced micro movements that perfectly matched the song the bird had practiced during the day. It was rehearsing. In its sleep, with no sound coming out, the finch was running through the song again, note by note, the way a musician might silently finger the keys of an instrument in the dark. Pigeons showed evidence of dreaming about flight. The motor patterns were unmistakable. A sleeping pigeon's brain lit up in the same configuration it used when the wings were actually moving. Then researchers started looking even further down the tree of life, and the findings stopped making comfortable evolutionary sense. Octopuses. They diverged from vertebrates roughly 550 million years ago. They have no shared ancestor with mammals anywhere near recent enough to explain sharing a sleep architecture. And yet, a sleeping octopus will shift color across its skin in rapid, rippling sequences. The same chromatophore patterns it produces while hunting or evading predators in waking life appear on the skin of a sleeping animal, cycling through in bursts that last a few seconds before going quiet and starting again. Researchers watching this described it as looking like the animal was replaying something. What exactly? Nobody can say with certainty, but the skin was changing in a W. That had no other plausible explanation. Then came jumping spiders, in a study published in 2022, showing REM-like episodes with retinal shifts and leg twitching that matched the behavioral signature of active dreaming in animals far more studied. Cuttlefish, zebrafish, the list keeps growing. What all of this points toward is a function, not an accident. Dreams appear to be what memory looks like while it is being processed. The rat running the maze in its sleep is not doing something decorative. Its hippocampus is replaying the day's experience in a compressed, accelerated form, reinforcing the neural pathways that represent that experience, making the memory more stable and more retrievable. The finch rehearsing its song is consolidating a motor skill. The puppy that twitches more than an adult dog is building the architecture of a nervous system that has not yet had time to fill itself with experience, so it replays whatever it has. This is why young animals spend so much more time in REM sleep than older ones. The brain is doing construction work. Dreams are the scaffolding. The question of what any of this actually feels like to the animal remains genuinely open. Whether a dog chasing something in its sleep experiences something we would recognize as subjective experience, whether there is a felt quality to what the rat rehearses in the dark, is a question that the firing patterns of neurons cannot fully answer. What science has settled is the structural question. The biology is there. The replay is happening. The function is real. A dog twitching on the floor is not producing random noise. Something in that brain is running the day back through itself, testing it, keeping what matters, and slowly building it into something permanent. Whether that constitutes dreaming the way humans mean the word, probably depends on how precisely you want to define a term that, even in humans, nobody fully understands.